Welcome to the Sisterhood Collective podcast, where we empower women to break barriers, overcome limiting beliefs, and achieve true success. I'm your host, Laurie Drummond, entrepreneur and founder of 5 successful businesses. Join me as I share proven strategies, interview inspirational leaders, and provide behind-the-scenes insights to help you level up in your business, career, and in life. Because together, we can get further faster. Okay, let's dive in. You know, in this crazy fast-paced world we're living in right now, it's pretty easy to find ourselves lost in our own pursuit of professional success, and we get lost in our own little world. We're so immersed in work and our deadlines and our ambition that I think we forget that wealth comes not only from our achievements, but in, I guess, the richness of our connections. When you think about it, how many times have you found yourself isolated? But you're surrounded by the noise of the little wins that you've just had this weekend. But you're also still missing out on laughter and shared moments. We already have our friends from the past, those schoolmates that you had for years, the ones we've shared so much with and probably shared our dreams and secrets with. We also have our friends right now. But to be connected, what is that? Because it's more than just catching up. If you're connected, truly connected with someone, you're already up to date with what's happening in each other's lives. I think loneliness can often creep in, not purely because we lack connection, but because we've forgotten to nurture our relationships in our pursuit of professional milestones and just busyness. So here's a conversation that Lauren and I were having about this just the other day. Take a listen. So Junior, today I'm really wanting to talk a little bit about loneliness because so many people that I'm talking to at the moment feel it, including myself, which is weird, right? Because we have so many people in our lives. Like for me personally, I've got so much going on. But all these women, even while I was away overseas and I went to those women networking programs, they're saying that it's lonely. And a friend of mine who I ran into literally on the plane, actually, she is a globetrotter. She does so well from a business perspective. She's an employee, but she's paid extremely well. She travels the world. And she said, I love my life. It's amazing. I'm traveling all over the world and I've got a great income. I could pretty much do everything and anything I want, but I'm lonely. Like I can't find my people that actually, I guess, understand the lifestyle that I have and the lifestyle that I want to have, or even just get me. So it's really hard to kind of meet people that just accept you for who you are. And then another friend said to me, would you believe, that they had a friend that actually works as a hostie with the mostie for the private jets and has an amazing lifestyle traveling the world, obviously this first class kind of lifestyle that you would imagine. But again, because she's away and she's in different locations all the time, she can afford all these things. She's dressing nicely all the time. She's getting invited to amazing places. She's living in amazing places, but doesn't have that, that constant friendship or something like that. Well, obviously it really impacts your well-being.
Yes, it does.
Like for me last week, I realized I got myself into a little bit of a space of, loneliness. Like I said, I got everything that I need. However, I just got myself into that space and I had to work out what it was that, fills my cup and brings me back to life is probably the best way to describe that. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, do you ever feel lonely, or is this just something that I'm feeling, or do you get that way as well sometimes?
I get it quite often, but hearing you talk about that, I don't know whether it's maybe work-life balance or something, because it seems like when you've got one thing, something else suffers. And so for me, like I went traveling and I've been away from home for about 15 years, working on yachts. Like you do have it all. And I had a partner and I had things, but I missed my family. I missed any, Christmases, birthdays, weddings, funerals. I miss that connection with people that I had maybe, I guess, grown up with and family. However, now when I went land-based and I had children, I missed what I had on the yachts. Like I missed those people because I'd formed a bond with them of that lifestyle that people on land didn't know about as well. So when you try and talk to somebody about, past experiences, or you try and relate to them, I think it's trying to find people who you can relate to.
As soon as you started talking, I was like, you know what? It's not about literally being alone, like being in a space where you're alone or you don't have anything or anyone surrounding you. It is that piece right there, which is that personal connection with the people of whom you want to have that personal connection with. I feel like perhaps that's the missing piece. And that's the moment when we feel what we are classing right now as, loneliness.
Yeah, and it is weird because also if you do have friends, everybody's so busy at the moment that you don't really want to intrude on somebody and say, hey, do you have an hour to catch up with me or something? Because sometimes you do need more than 5 minutes. You just want to have that sort of connection. And then also, I think it's difficult if you maybe don't have a partner as well, that you put emphasis on being lonely. I don't even know how to describe it really, because I don't think enough emphasis is put on friendships, because best friends and close friends can be just as rewarding as having a partner as well. And that's what I think there's not enough maybe talk about that. I don't know whether it's trying to have it all, because when you do have one thing, you don't have the other, and just trying to balance it. But also when you're lonely, you've got to think to yourself, I think, oh, you've got this and you've got that and you've got that. And why do you feel lonely? And sometimes I don't know. And then other days you're okay.
That's true, right? Like sometimes you're like, I feel lonely, and then you are affected and impacted by it to the point where you don't necessarily want to go and exercise, or you don't actually want to work that day, or you don't even really want to talk to people. And then other days it impacts you, but you're like, I'm just going to go and take myself out for a walk and just have some alone time anyway, and listen to a podcast, or, whatever it is, listen to your star sign updates, whatever it might be that you randomly do. And so you embrace that moment of being quiet, I suppose. I think a lot of it, though, comes down to regular connection.
Yeah, and there's a difference between being happy being alone and being lonely as well. And sometimes when I feel lonely, it's actually when I'm the busiest. So even if I did have time to spend with someone, or I'm like, oh, I want to go and see them for the weekend, I don't actually have time. And maybe that's that overwhelming feeling of maybe sharing the burden with somebody else. I don't know. Just, yeah, the busiest times is often when I feel the loneliest as well.
Well, I guess when we talk about loneliness also, like there's different types of it, right? There's different types of loneliness in that sense as well, which we're all going to feel at different times. And I think personality and current circumstances would probably play into this. I think what you said before was not having a partner necessarily, which is that emotional loneliness, where you haven't got the intimate connections or that emotional support like right there.
Yeah, but I've also had, and you've probably had it as well, the partner, but still feeling lonely because of something else. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't feel supported.
Well, I think that's disconnection, right? Again, because yes, absolutely, I felt that. But as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, I remember those times. It was because we were disconnected as a couple.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've read those studies where they've said, a couple, they're trying to decide whether they split up or whether they come together, and then their psychologist or counselor has said, you need to be intimate and physically intimate every night for a week or whatever, and see how that works. And I've read these studies, and it could have just come from the Woman's Day, so it could be completely dodgy and not, true. But I loved the outcome of that was that they were intimate, because that intimate connection made them open up to each other again and made them feel supported. And obviously they were, speaking each other's language of sorts, or their love language, or whatever that happens to be. But that intimate connection created a better relationship between them. I don't know how true that is, but I mean, it has to have something to do with it, because, I mean, we were talking earlier about that intimacy, even with children, and that needing a hug or just physical touch to feel relaxed, at peace, at home, whatever you want to call it. So there's that emotional loneliness that you say that primarily partners or whatever. But then there's that social loneliness or not having friends or acquaintances in the space, which I mean, it certainly happened for me when I moved to San Diego. I was in like a whole new location and I didn't know anybody. Same thing when I moved to Abu Dhabi, you know, eight years ago or whatever. I didn't know anybody. So I had to start fresh. I had to create a whole social network, but I was lonely. And I find, like, for me, when I'm lonely, this is what I'm just thinking right now. I feel like the first thing I do is I stop exercising, which is my favorite thing to do, which is the worst thing to do, is to stop exercising. So we've got emotional loneliness, social loneliness. Then the other thing was it's called transient loneliness, which is this thing that, yeah, it comes and goes. It's just occasionally you feel it and then it kind of goes. And I think that's pretty common with most people. And then the fourth one is the chronic loneliness, which is persistent and long-term feelings of loneliness. That's the one that has the more significant impact on mental health and well-being. But again, all comes down to this social connection thing. So tell me, like, obviously you've already said that you've felt it previously. You have this feeling sometimes as well. I mean, and it's sometimes even when you're super, super busy. What are some strategies? What are things that you do, or that you, if you think back, has like literally kicked you out of that space?
I guess it's making an effort to connect with someone who's the closest to you, so that when you call me, I get all happy.
Yay! Because that's what I did. Like I was feeling a little bit crazy last week, but it was due to a PTSD thing for me, which I recognized and went, which for the first time actually. So it was a bit of a heavy couple of days, and because of that, it had an impact. And that impact for me was to just put myself into a little bit of a cave and put myself into a little hole, which of course then resulted in feeling loneliness and not supported and not connected and all those sorts of things, all of which, by the way, I created myself. And how did I get myself out of that? And the way that I did it was I reached out to my people. Like anyone and everyone that knows me knows that I need my tribe, or my peoples are my rock, my everything, right? And I think what I actually realized myself personally was that I can't not connect with people regularly. And actually, it was this weekend in particular. It's been a like a light bulb moment where I'm like, I need to be more conscious of making this connection. And so the last couple of days, 3 things happened. I went and caught up with a friend that lives a little bit far out of town, that I never go out there. She always comes in to see me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out and see you. And she was beside herself excited that I made the effort, which of course made her feel good, which made me feel good. And of course, having that connection of which I miss with her was just beautiful. And then I organized a luncheon with a friend, and that was amazing. It was the most perfect day. We sat outside. The view was amazing. The food was amazing. The wine was incredible. The company was fabulous. It just absolutely filled my cup. I booked a ticket to go see somebody for New Year's Eve. Don't want to give the secret away. Made her happy, made me happy that I made her happy. And then also, I just found out my dad at the same time. I'm like, Dad, come and visit me. It's been 4 years. And he went and booked tickets to come and see me for a week, next month, which I'm beside myself excited about as well. So all these little connection things, it's like I put this effort into it and suddenly made all these things happen, which literally flipped my world back up to the right way, which gave me motivation. It was very fast change just by, getting that connection again.
You think that's because that's your love language as well, is the quality time?
You're spot on. My love language is quality time, and time, the one thing I don't have too much of, to be fair. I like to definitely allocate it to my people. They're the most important thing.
Yeah, I think that's the same as me, because mine's quality time. And I used to always think, oh, why do I spend all my money going to visit these people or that people or catching up? And I always used to come home to see my family, and not that I resented it, but I was like, oh, why don't I, book a trip to go here or somewhere else? And I'm sort of new to the love languages. And now that I know what it is, it's okay that that's where I'd want to spend my money, because that's what fills my cup too. So when I have more money, there's people that I want to go and visit, and that excites me. But for me at the moment as well, being new back home, which, I thought it would be a lot easier to integrate back here, it's been more difficult. This has been, I think, the loneliest.
Mm. And so it's interesting that you say that because, hang on. Well, firstly, why do you think you've gone home, right? You've gone back to where you kind of went to school. You've got your family there. What is it that makes it feel lonely, do you think?
Partly I'm in hiding, and partly because I am not maybe the same person I was when I was here. I've got different responsibilities. I can't just go out and see people. A lot of people that I know live at least an hour away. And I know that doesn't sound like it's very far, but it is when you've got kids. So I don't actually know many people who have got children my age. I don't know whether I just haven't made an effort or I'm trying to hold on to the friendships that I already have because they're important to me, and because I'm busy. I mean, I don't have time. There's been, a couple of people that I've run into and they're not my people. So I don't really know what to do. I'm kind of stuck in limbo at the moment with my loneliness.
You're not the only one, obviously. We obviously talked about this in our mastermind actually just last week, and it was a common topic. Everyone feels it firstly. But what I noticed in that group was also the need to connect with people. And so one of the tasks, if you recall, because you've got this homework as well, it was to each month you've got to at least connect with one person each month. But not only just saying, hey, you've got to connect with one person, I took it that step further and said, well, you actually need to write that person's name down on our plan, and you need to tell me who that person is, and I'm going to be checking in to make sure that you are connecting with that person. So you can't just say it. You've actually got to take the action step to connect with those people. But it's not always just reaching out and connecting to someone. Like, you're in a whole new city, country, in fact. So by just connecting with someone once a month, that's not going to do it. That's not going to cut it for you, and other people that are in the same space. So, I talk about this myself, like going to the gym. Even when I'm, taking Lulu out for a walk, people talk to me all the time. And of course, as you know, someone looks at me sideways, I'm like, oh, hi. And I start talking to them too. So I'm already engaged in a conversation. But again, I like that. So I guess that's for you as well, as you need to find some things you can do, I guess, activities where you are able to connect with other people, whether that's volunteering at, school tuck shop or school canteen, or I don't know what schools do these days, but they have mum volunteer or go on those excursions or go do to a gym of sorts or Pilates or something like that.
I think it comes down to, I think you did it was the podcast as well, of finding your people, because as you get older, it is harder to find friends, and you've got to start again, and you've got to know everybody's history, and you've got to spend a certain amount of hours with someone before you can really call them your friend. So I guess it's not laziness, but it's daunting, and it's like, oh, do I have time for this? And I've got to put in an effort. And if you put all your effort into one person and then you're like, oh, they're nice and everything, but they don't understand where I've come from or what I'm trying to do. And then you've got to go find somebody else. And then it just ends up being you're making excuses. Whereas in actual fact, I just want to hang out with the friends that I have. And I think I bring it upon myself is because you can't, because they live on the other side of the world or they live thousands of kilometers away. So then you just like drown in your own loneliness because you can't see them. And then you're like, I don't want new friends. I've got friends, but I know I need to make new friends, but it's exhausting to start again. And from having this type of lifestyle that I've had and you've had, not many people understand it. So I feel a bit mute at times because I feel like people don't want to hear it. People don't want to know what I've been doing because they can't relate to it. So I don't have any history of being here. I don't have any experiences. I haven't been to any places that people talk about. Like, I barely know restaurants, activities, places to go on holiday now. The only thing I can relate to is things that I did 15, 20 years ago. And then things that I speak about, it's just like, oh, okay. So there's no common ground. So I need to find something, I guess, like you said, maybe the gym or Pilates or yoga, or go and do that where I can find a new common ground.
Yeah, and I think that's literally the key is you've got to find a social setting that resonates with you, that that you're engaged in, not forced to speak to people at school pickup or speak to other mums and dads at a school location because your kid goes there. It's like you've got to choose something that you want to do, like whether that is Pilates or whether that is going to book club or even if it's going to the local cafe every day and even working a little bit from there or whatever that happens to be. But you've got to find the social setting that you feel like you belong to. And then when you're comfortable there, you need to, start, I guess you've got to put yourself out there. It's hard work, right? Because there's the fear of rejection then too, or judgment, people not even wanting to talk to you, like, what is she doing here? What, all those sorts of things. You got judgment and fear. And
this adulting is hard, and it is always changing for everybody. I think everybody is in the same boat to some degree. Like, you could have had the same friends your whole life and you were only friends with them because you went through school with them, but you actually might want to do something else. But how do you break out of a friendship group that you've had for 20 odd years?
Well, another setting or a circumstance is when you split from a partner and you've got mutual friends, and then that's a major life change there where you're splitting, you two are splitting. Who takes the friends on, and how do the friends react to the both of you? I've seen people go through that has been really hard work.
Move to another country.
Move to another country, or completely lost all those friends because the other partner may have taken those friends on and the other partners had to start fresh.
Yeah, everyone's got something, don't they? I mean, we always talk about this as the mindset, and if you can just recognize what it is for what it is, and you're allowed to have down days as well. So you can enjoy them as much as you can, not go to the gym, eat some things, but you've got to find a way, I guess, to pick yourself up because, no one's coming for you. You've got to do it yourself.
Are you talking about a knight in shining armor? He's not coming in on his horse.
Oh, he's not coming. You're your own responsibility, aren't you? But it is good to have these conversations and then like, oh yeah, I really need to do this. But it's also good to know that other people feel the same way, because people don't have these conversations a lot of the time. You don't go out and meet your girlfriend and just go, well, I'm lonely. I mean, you can. It depends what friend it is.
I said it to a friend just yesterday, actually, at lunch, and said, I had, a really lonely week last week. Laurie, you can reach out to me anytime. I'm like, oh, I know. But then we started talking, and I said she has a charity organization, and they're doing a fundraiser, and two are coming up, actually. And I said, I'd love to volunteer and just help. She said, oh, no, you don't need to help. I said, no, seriously. I want to come and help. Like, for me, I want to help people in general. That's something that fills my cup. But I also want to get out there more and, be part of the world and part of life, which is literally one of the strategies is like volunteering. Volunteering in any sort of space is a really good way of just at least getting out there. And I feel like when you just get outside, get out of your house, get out of your workplace, get out of your own space, I suppose, and you just get outside, that is when you're more likely to see things, meet people, and just have, I guess, better experiences.
Yeah, and make time.
Make it a priority, right? So I've got some of the strategies, I think, for coming out of this lonely space, I suppose. And we all feel it differently. So different strategies will resonate differently with everybody, but is reaching out to family, friends, or acquaintances, not waiting for them to reach out to you. You actually just taking that step. And even in your case is reconnecting with old friends and colleagues. Another really good one is joining groups. There's groups and clubs, particularly on Facebook. Like when you move to a new town, I know here in Australia, I know overseas as well, little regions or suburb areas or villages will have like a village community where you can post on there. They share information that's going on in the local businesses or even in the neighborhood or something like that, or things like our members room. The whole point of that's to connect with people that are probably feeling the same way as you. We've chosen to have females only, so it's a safe space for the women. Also other groups that just maybe there's hobbies there that you're interested in that you could just suss out and join. But you have to also go that step further, not just by joining. You have to actually engage in them. You can even do it on social media. You can volunteer, which I've already spoken about. You can attend those social events, like whether you're going to a charity event or a women's networking event or some sort of business seminar. You could take classes, whether you go to cooking classes or language classes or something like that. Just one, to learn, I guess, a new skill, but also to meet people. And the big one is exercise, right? Joining any sort of fitness class or a sports group. Play some volleyball or something.
It made me laugh because when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I decided to do Spanish classes with my dad while I was here. I came here to have her, and we must have been there, I don't know, for about 10, 12 weeks, I think the course was. And at the end, everyone in that course thought that me and my dad were together.
Ew.
I was pregnant.
And you were mortified, the both of you.
Yeah, it was just fun. No, like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that was funny because we did that as something to do together and to meet people and learn something new.
So another couple of strategies then, if you're not taking language classes, could be using technology. We talk all the time on Zoom. We also talk on FaceTime, we talk on WhatsApp. You could get a pet like I have right now. She gets me out. The good thing about her is she gets me outside when I'm not around, and even grandma, my mum, babysits her. It's fabulous for her. It gets her out. Mum started talking to people in the streets in the neighborhood around her, so it's been really quite a good companion for her, and also has gotten her out of the house and getting her meeting people, which has been really good.
I've enjoyed the Zoom meetings and things, like through COVID and everything, having, I don't know who did it, but a lot of us did like meetups and family meetups and cooking groups and things like that. And from doing business side of things and just catching up on Zoom now, it's a lot nicer than just a phone call as well, because it's like you're in that room with somebody, you can see them, and I think that's more warming than a phone call.
It's funny because when COVID did happen and we were talking on Zoom, like I remember for my gym, I was like, cool, let's have a Friday night drinks party. We're all at home. Bring your favorite drink to I literally cooked a pizza as well. And I sat there and set up this big Zoom group meeting. And it was kind of awkward for the first one, right? Like, because if you're on Zoom and you got 20 people in the room, only one person can talk. You can't all talk over each other and everything. And so it's like you're having a conversation with everybody. It's not like a one-on-one conversation. So it was a little bit awkward. But as you say, like now it's such a common way of communicating for people, businesses, personally, and all that. It's heaps easier to navigate.
Yeah, no, it's good.
And I guess the last few things is that you can attend like support groups, counseling or therapy of sorts. And I guess the most important thing is not to, if you're feeling that loneliness or whatever, is to practice self-compassion, not to talk to yourself negatively, and try to avoid that self-isolation. Like you said earlier, though, sometimes it's okay to just to be in your own space. And I 100% agree. You just need that, right? It's like a reset. It's therapy in itself. And you yourself know when it's time to not be in your own space. So I guess it's a combination of these strategies that will work, and people have to find their own way. And I guess I don't know if I'm necessarily helping anybody by talking about it, but for me personally, talking about it reminds me that I'm not the only person that feels like this. And I think there's comfort in knowing that other people feel like that, because we normalize it. It makes it more comfortable for me to actually speak to someone about it, like I did just yesterday, my poor friend. I'm like, did you know I felt lonely? She's like, what? I'm like, she's like, you shouldn't feel. I'm like, oh, I know. And, but like I normalized it. I didn't make myself feel down about the fact that that's how I felt or anything. I just like, oh, I had this moment, and we just talked about it like normal people, like any other topic. And I think that's important as well, right? Because it allows you to be proactive about building the connections and overcoming it.
Yeah, I've just had another thought as well of what you were saying there, is that I think sometimes you feel lonely because you base everything on your past experiences and maybe the past lives that you've had in different periods of your life, or maybe when you were with someone else, or when you were living in another country or another suburb, or you were in a different job. So you had different friends in that job and it's not the same there. But you've actually got to get your mindset around the fact that this is where you are right now and what can you do now.
Exactly. Embrace the now. Stop living in the past.
Yeah, even if the past was really good. Different parts of your life, you tend to look back on the good parts, whether it's your high school or, that time of your life where you were like doing a lot, or you went traveling, or you were in a job, or you got promotion and you had all your mates at work, but then they leave, or then all your friends get married, or you move, or you do something, and you tend to regress sometimes and live there, and you're never going to be there. So that, I think that's important too, and I need to think about that now as well. This is my life now, and I need to make the most of it. And if I want to make new friends, or I don't want to be lonely, then what can I do to make myself feel better? Like I said, no one's going to do it for you.
Just in closing here, I guess loneliness doesn't have to be a permanent shadow. It's a nudge that we need connection, right? We've talked about that. And another takeaway is just to know that you're not alone in this. There's other people out there. It's a human experience. We all have it, and just acknowledge it, and then take those steps to, I guess, pull yourself out of it or connect with somebody. I think the key takeaway here is connection. So if you're feeling it, it's because you may be starving yourself of some sort of connection, and you deserve to be happy. You deserve companionship, whatever that looks like to you.